Welcome, partners, stakeholders, community members, friends. Thank you for being here with us today. My name is Philippa Putlitz, and I am the Upstream Coordinator with the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Okanagan. I'll be co-hosting today's event with Jamie Lloyd-Smith of Away Home Kelowna. We are here to celebrate our community's collective effort to shift the way in which we address youth homelessness in our community. We want to share with you how we will move from a crisis-driven response to one that's focused on prevention. We are excited to share a journey with you and to introduce you to some of our key partners. Now, in my 8 years with the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Okanagan, I have been working directly with some of the most vulnerable youth in our region. And I've heard an endless number of stories from youth who've struggled to keep a roof over their head, and far too many stories from youth who haven't had a roof over their head at all. So I think we can all agree that one young person without a home is too many. There's more that we can do, and we can do better. So Upstream is an early intervention initiative, and it's one of the first of its kind in Canada. We believe its potential is far-reaching. It has so many possibilities. Amongst it, we can now coordinate and communicate between service providers. We can relieve some of that social burden of care felt by our teachers and our educators. We can begin to identify gaps in services in our community, but most importantly, we can start to really try to do what we can to keep our kids in school and keep our kids safely housed.
Thank you, Philly, for that introduction. Hello, everybody. My name is Jamie Lloyd-Smith, and I am the project coordinator for Away Home Kelowna. And I just want to echo what Philly said in terms of being really excited to be here with all of you today and to share with this ceremony and the launch of Upstream. Because as many of you will know, this has been a project we've been working on for some time. We're super excited to bring it to our community. And along the way, we've had so many stakeholders and partners involved. So we're really excited to share our excitement with all of you today. I really wanted to take this opportunity to share a little bit about Away Home Kelowna, how we formed, and kind of what our focus is. So many of you will know that a few years ago, around 2017, there was a large spotlight on the issue of homelessness in our community. And at that time, the Journey Home Task Force was starting in tandem with another table of youth service providers who are really kind of taking a focused look at youth homelessness and how we can kind of coordinate this. So it actually sparked the perfect opportunity for us to develop Away Home Kelowna, as we call it, which is in partnership with Away Home Canada and our national partners, but also to develop a local youth strategy that was embedded in the larger Journey Home plan. We're always really excited to share that this plan was actually embedded right from the beginning, and there was a lot of intentional conversations around youth not being an afterthought or sort of a side project, but actually being embedded in the community's larger plan to address homelessness. In the Journey Home plan, as many of you have probably read it, Upstream specifically is actually mentioned as one of the top 10 actions in order for our community to hit functional zero for homelessness. And for us, this is really exciting because not only is that speaking to the need and issue around youth homelessness, but it's also speaking towards this broader need to shift towards prevention. Away Home Kelowna specifically is made up of a group of service providers in the community who are working on various different initiatives around the issue of youth homelessness. I have the privilege of working with many different partners, including the Boys and Girls Club, Journey Home, and other service providers around what these projects are and how we can best implement them in our community. We've seen great success around the launch of youth-specific housing, the development of a youth-coordinated access table, and a lot of advocacy around youth treatment in our community. And if there's ever the perfect time to really signal a shift towards prevention, it's now. Our partners at Away Home Canada as well has really guided our work along the way in terms of giving us best tools around planning and practice. And that, in tandem with our partnership with Journey Home and other partners, have really given us a lot of success. Really, I often hear you say, and it's one of my my favorite phrases, is that working at the youth shelter, there's this desire to work yourself out of a job. And I think there's probably no better way to explain why we're so excited about Upstream and why shifting towards prevention is so important.
Working together in this first year of this initiative is a committed group of stakeholders. So, with us today, we have ARC programs, the Bridge Youth and Family Services, the Foundry, Kelowna Friendship Society, the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Okanagan, KLO Middle School, Spring Valley Middle School, and the School District 23. We want to acknowledge and thank each of you for working diligently to collaborate on our common goal. We hope that this launch, this celebration, will spread awareness of this important initiative throughout our community. We hope our audience today will feel and be fueled by the passion of our work, and that you will gain the information that you need to join us in making collective and long-lasting impact in the lives of our vulnerable youth and families. Now, I would love to begin this celebration by welcoming Edna Terbasket, Executive Director of Kelowna Friendship Society, to lead us in a land acknowledgement and prayer.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to welcome each and every one of you to our Silks territory, our unceded territory. And I'd like to all of you to vision that we're in a circle, and we're not holding hands, but we're in a circle. So as I begin the prayer, I always say when I offer a prayer, take out of it what you can use, and the things that you can't use, just let it go. Why Colin shootin', inches squeeze and poot tweet. Lim Colin shootin' for this most beautiful day. Lim Colin shootin' for Mother Earth and all that she provides for us. May we truly take from her what we need and to leave the rest in a good way. May we love, honor, respect, and protect her. Colin Shooten, I offer prayers for our relatives of the winged world, the water world, the four-legged world, the plant world, the insect world, and the ones we cannot see. Colin Shooten, I offer prayers for our relatives who are at home or who may be in a hospital. I ask you to put your loving, healing arms around them and take good care of them. I offer prayers for our relatives who are homeless. I pray that they have a warm, dry place to sleep and food in their tummy. I offer prayers for our relatives, our young ones who are struggling, maybe almost homeless as well, that you take good care of them and all of their loved ones. Colin Shooten, there's many, many things to be offering a prayer for. And you know what's in my heart, you know what's in my mind. For anything I have overlooked or forgotten, I ask for your forgiveness, for I am still learning. Colin Shooten, once again, I give thanks for this most beautiful day. All my relations. Lim lim.
Thank you, Edna, so much for leading us in that beautiful acknowledgement and prayer. I'm very excited to be able to introduce our next speaker, which is going to be our local mayor, Colin Bazran. Now, many of you will know Journey Home and Away Home Kelowna and the formation of both of those strategies and how the Away Home Kelowna plan was embedded in the Journey Home strategy took place a few years ago, but we know that there's been a lot of work since then. In 2018, we know that City and Council endorsed the Journey Home strategy, and there's been a lot of concerted efforts around addressing homelessness in our community writ large, but also specifically around youth. Again, we're excited around Upstream Project because it's really shifting that thinking towards prevention and the larger continuum of services for those in our community. When we first started this project, Journey Home was instrumental in terms of advocating and doing community engagement around why this project was important and how we could embed it in the community. So with that all being said, it is my honor to welcome and introduce our local mayor, Colin Bazran. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Jamie, for that introduction. Appreciate it. Yeah, certainly the journey home and away home is one of the things I'm most proud of in my time as mayor, and looking forward to further collaboration as we move both of those plans forward. So first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to the launch of this exciting initiative. Thank you, Edna, for your blessing and the acknowledgement that we are all gathered today on the traditional ancestral unceded territory of the Syilx Okanagan people. As our residents told us during the Imagine Kelowna initiative, if you're familiar with that, or in many of the other conversations we've had, they want a city that welcomes a diversity of residents and cultural experiences. And we're seeing that happen when people from across Canada and around the world move here for our quality of life and for our employment opportunities. As our population in general grows, and this is still a bit surprising to me, but it grew by 2% during a pandemic. We also see the growing number of people with nowhere to call home grow as well. As a municipality, we don't build homes, but we do what the Boys and Girls Club is doing today, building partnerships to get at the root of concerns in our community. In this case, it's connecting with young people before they become isolated or at risk of being homeless. Addressing youth homelessness, as you've heard, was a key part in the Journey Home strategy, involving local partners in Away Home Canada and its homelessness prevention strategy for young people. And this year, the city will develop an Upstream Youth Services Plan, tapping into a community-wide youth services framework to connect young people with healthy opportunities and programs. It will also help us better understand the existing youth serving sector, gaps in services, opportunities, and what the city's role is in that sector. In the past 2 years, we've seen BC Housing provide 274 new supported living spaces in Kelowna for people who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. We still, as we all know here, have far more work to do on that supply of housing, but it is really encouraging to see partnerships and initiatives like today's begin to tackle problems upstream before people experience homelessness. The underlying issues that contribute to homelessness are not unique to Kelowna. That's why BC's urban mayors got together to create an advocacy group to work with the province on further solutions. I co-chair that group with Victoria Mayor Lisa Helps, and in our discussions with Premier Horgan and his staff so far, we are more optimistic than we've ever been that we will address needs that have been neglected for far too long in our communities. When we all work together, we can make significant, lasting changes, and working our way upstream will be critical to that success. So I applaud all of you here today for working together to protect our future generations. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mayor Bazran, for being here with us today and just all of the work that you've put in for our city and to work for our vulnerable people. We have to continue to work to do all of this in coordination with one another, and we can't do it alone. That's the beauty of collective impact projects. Can't tell you enough how grateful I am that you were able to make it and be here with us today. I just appreciate it so much. Next, I would love to introduce our speaker, Jeremy Welder. He is the CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Okanagan. Jeremy?
Thanks very much, Philly. It's a really exciting day and represents a lot of work that was done by a whole bunch of people that are very committed in our community. Our organization, the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Okanagan, serve children from the time that they're in infancy all the way through adulthood. With so much of our focus being on early development and childhood experiences, initiative like this, we're just so thrilled to have to enhance the prevention scope of our youth services. Boys and Girls Clubs in Kelowna runs the only youth shelter in the Okanagan Valley. And we've heard too often from youth whose homelessness could have been prevented if there was if it would have been identified and supported earlier and more upstream. We have a vision, as Jamie talked about in our organization, a vision where our shelter is no longer needed in our community, and we're working towards that. And initiatives like this are things that will help. Boys and Girls Club's vision is that all children and youth will discover and achieve their dreams and grow up to be healthy and successful and active participants in society. And we know that they can't do this when they are living with unidentified and unaddressed risks. This project will create change in how we respond to youth homelessness, how young people are engaged, and provide our community with tools that they need to step in before they are in crisis. In each community we work in throughout the Okanagan Valley, we are committed to offering services and fulfilling roles that are needed by the community. And we're so honored in Kelowna to be selected by the community to lead and develop the implementation of this really exciting initiative of Upstream Kelowna. This initiative is not one that comes easily, and it didn't happen overnight. We have invested resources into the development of the project over the past 3 years, and we couldn't have got here without the partnership with Journey Home Society. Starting with community consultation, relationships, presenting the project to the school district stakeholder tables, Journey Home and the Boys and Girls Club have worked together to realize the vision for a better outcome for youth and the promise that this project holds for the future. The team continued to define roles and develop partnerships with the groups we talked about earlier, with Kelowna Friendship Society, with Foundry Kelowna, with ARC programs, and with the Bridge Youth and Family Services. All while we continue to pursue funding that will ensure the project's success long-term. After significant planning and development, we are excited to launch this program that has the potential for far-reaching impacts in our community. Scrambling for ad hoc emergency services while youth is already in crisis is not good enough. We believe this shift of the lens to prevention will provide our young people with a secure and supportive transition into their adulthood. It is so exciting to see this initiative at a stage where implementation in our community is well underway. And we're so excited to be here at the launch event with all of our community partners and look forward to seeing where this initiative can go in the future. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jeremy. As we wait for Kevin Cardall, who is just doing some really important work, we will bring it back to him. What we're going to do right now in our ceremony is we're going to shift and move towards some presentations that we've prepared for you to really start to show some of the impact and the possibility of this project. Jamie, would you mind going ahead and introducing that next section of our celebration?
Absolutely, Philly, thank you. So I believe I mentioned earlier that Upstream Canada actually came from Australia with what was known as the Geelong Project. That has now turned into Upstream Australia, but that was really the original community that was looking at how we could shift thinking towards prevention of youth homelessness. So the Geelong Project sort of developed in Australia as this universal screening tool that would identify young folks and their risk of homelessness, and then also do the extra step of providing wraparound supports for those students. Australia saw tremendous success with this, which is why we're really excited to have it adapted to a Canadian context. In addition, we're so lucky that our partnership with national partners at Away Home Canada, the Canadian Observatory on Homelessness, has really provided the tools to make sure that we're doing this in a way that has been well researched and that it's adaptable and helpful for our local community as well. So that being said, we do have a short video on the Geelong Project, which will hopefully clarify some of that and provide some context.
Kelowna, we are so happy to hear that you guys are starting up this program model. We cannot wait to hear about all the great success you will have with it. We're excited to now share our common cause together all the way across the ocean and making young people's voices the focus of our communities. Thank you and good luck.
So at the implementation of the Geelong Project in Australia, the community saw significant decreases, not only in the number of youth experiencing homelessness, but also of youth with at risk of school disengagement and other factors that we know contribute into the pathways into homelessness. At this point, I think what probably makes the most sense is to introduce another video that we have, which comes from some of our national partners, Dr. Stephen Gates, who is the president of the Canadian Observatory on Homelessness, hosted at York University, as well as from Melanie Redmond, who's the founding president and CEO of Away Home Canada. So as I mentioned, our partnership with national partners around the research, the policy, planning, and practice has been tremendously helpful for us to make sure that we're doing this in a way that's really helpful, well-researched, and adaptable for our local community. Sadly, both Dr. Stephen Gates and Melanie Redmond are 3 hours ahead, but they graciously did provide this video in advance.
Hello, Kelowna. I'm Melanie Redmond, and I lead Away Home Canada, a national coalition reimagining solutions to youth homelessness. Part of the work we do is supporting communities like Kelowna to have the knowledge, tools, and resources necessary to make the shift to preventing youth homelessness. Kelowna has done an amazing job in making use of what we, along with the Canadian Observatory on Homelessness, have to offer. It's important to note, however, that it is a truly reciprocal relationship. Your work on the ground in Kelowna will continue to inspire and inform other communities across Canada and indeed around the world. The launch of Upstream Kelowna, alongside other critical interventions meant to prevent and end youth homelessness, is such an important milestone. We're honored to be able to support you in your efforts to get the best possible outcomes for young people and their families. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Stephen Gates to talk about why school-based early intervention is so critical. But congratulations, Kelowna.
I want to likewise congratulate Kelowna. I think this is an amazing thing you're doing. And, as a professor at York University and a researcher on homelessness through the Canadian Observatory on Homelessness, I can tell you that it becomes clear all the time that we need to do more around preventing homelessness rather than just reacting. We know from research that amongst young people who experience homelessness, that over 40% had their first experience before they were 16 years old. And for them, we do almost nothing. We also know that prolonged exposure to homelessness has a negative impact on health, well-being, mental health, substance use, engagement in school, and employment. And so we really need to help young people at an earlier age and really get to them and help them. What we need to do is stop them from becoming homeless. And so the question then is like, why do schools matter in all this? Well, here's the thing. Every young person who experiences homelessness was in school once, and it's very possible that a teacher or a coach or a counselor knew it, but didn't know what to do. The Upstream Project provides a way of doing that exact thing without adding a burden on teachers. It enables community organizations that work with youth to collaborate in the school, identify young people and their families who are struggling, and give them the supports that they need so that they stay in their community, stay engaged in school, and thrive. That's the goal. And I think, Kelowna has really shown amazing leadership on this by adopting Upstream. You're at the vanguard, really, of a massive potential revolution in how we address homelessness. By taking this on, you're showing great leadership across the country. And as Melanie said, there's a real strong possibility that the work you do here will have a huge influence. Other communities will see it and say, why can't we do it too? So we're just so excited about this. And we just once again want to say congratulations, way to go. You are true leaders. Thank you.
So this work could not have been done without the support, participation, and commitment of our devout school district. This is why I now have the great pleasure of introducing to you Kevin Cardall, our Superintendent of School District 23. Kevin?
Thank you, Philippa. So I am excited to be here on behalf of the school district and in support of this incredibly important project. It really is an opportunity for us to be proactive and make sure that we can end housing instability and disengagement for some of our youth. We need to, as schools, of course, provide every support and intervention that we can and connect community supports to those students to ensure success. And this project gives us that opportunity. We're not always aware of whether a youth are at risk of homelessness, but the community can be. And working together, we can ensure that we wrap supports around those young people to make sure that they have a safe place to be and live and a safe place to go to school. We're very encouraged to be partners in this program and find out how we can work better to support our youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, so much for being here and sharing the voice of the school district with us. And thank you for all of your partnership thus far. I really, really look forward to developing our relationship and to the impact that we're bound to see that coming out of this project. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. We're very pleased to be here.
I'm going to introduce our next speaker. So this celebration would not be complete without the voices of youth who have lived experience of homelessness. Here today to provide us with perspective is Jordan Siemens, our lead youth advocate with Upstream. Jordan was also a youth accessing services when I first started working at the Boys and Girls Clubs. So I could not be prouder to be able to call him a colleague today. Jordan.
Hello, I'm Jordan. Thank you for having me here to speak today. I'm going to tell you a bit about my experience when I was a teenager and my experience with homelessness. So I was homeless as a teenager. I first experienced homelessness when I was 14. My time being homeless started out with me being displaced from my family. I would couch surf with friends or other family members as long as I could. I would camp out in parks around town or stay on the street with other homeless friends that I had made around Kelowna. I stayed at the Kelowna Youth Shelter full time by 15 and was connected with youth services since then until I turned 19. As a teenager, I struggled with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, anger and violence, addiction issues, and problems at home. After staying at the shelter, I benefited from community supports such as drug and alcohol counseling, having a youth worker, getting housing options, counseling, financial support, and court support. Through everything, I continued to go to school as much as I could. I was on and off with being enrolled in school and ended up at an alternative school in town. Being homeless and having a buildup of problems in my life made going to school difficult. It felt completely pointless at the time and was at the bottom of my priorities. I was not connected to any supports until I ended up at the youth shelter, even though I gave off many warning signs of internal issues in my life. When I was 13, many things started to go downhill in my life. I was having a lot of problems at home and my family was struggling. I started turning to drugs, something that started out as a weekend binging, but very quickly escalated to being completely hooked on methamphetamines and opioids. Unknown to me, my depression was starting to take over my life. I started self-harming regularly, becoming antisocial, and having an internal struggle with suicide. Uncontrolled angry outbursts would destroy many of my relationships and opportunities, eventually leading to frequent violence in my life. During my years in school, while also facing these obstacles, I did not have connections to the supports I needed and was treated like more of a burden in school. I was kicked out of school and I didn't even dream it would be possible to be able to graduate. If I was connected to support early on, it would have made a huge impact on me. By the time I had been connected, I'd been in deep drug addiction, emotionally unstable, destroyed relationships with family, and in trouble with the law, things that had been piling up in my life for years. I had a lot of shame about being homeless. It was degrading and humiliating to see where my life was at. I would often beat myself up for the choices that landed me there, even though some of them were inescapable. I see the lifelong effects that homelessness has on people. homeless teens being so likely to relapse into homelessness repetitively in adulthood. And I see that ending homelessness for young people will stop that cycle. Many young teens are struggling right now, and they are begging for help with not enough resources in the school system to help them. If I had been connected to community supports early on, I think it's possible that I never would have ended up homeless. The Upstream Project will create a network of support for young youth in our community. It will identify the youth who are struggling before they fall through the cracks and give teens the support they need to thrive in their schools and in their overall lives, working to put a stop to the many issues teens go through that lead to homelessness. Thank you for allowing me to share that. I now want to introduce a video that the Upstream group has helped put together by interviewing youth in our community who have experienced homelessness.
I first experienced homelessness when I was 15.
I first experienced homelessness when I was 20 years old.
I first experienced homelessness when I was 14 years old.
First experienced homelessness when I was 18.
If I was connected to sports earlier on, I could have prevented so many times where I felt alone or like just feeling helpless, feeling like nobody was there for me.
I got kicked out, not for bad reasons, but because I wasn't going to school. Mainly because school support was not so great, and it kind of backlashed on my part into my family. And my learning disability, it just kind of made me feel like I was lesser than everyone. So when they tried to put a support person on me for class, I refused. Not because I didn't think I didn't need the support, I definitely did, and I wouldn't admit it because they would send the person in with me to class, which everyone would see that they're there with me and could tell that I had a disability, and I just wasn't okay with that. School wasn't very helpful, and neither was being in a family that doesn't understand that.
Yeah, when I was around 13, supports my family and I could have used were everything that the Boys and Girls Club offers, because I didn't have a Boys and Girls Club when I was young. I just had drugs and my friends. So I didn't have a place to go eat, or if I was struggling, you know. If we didn't have food in the fridge, we didn't have food in the fridge, I had to go figure it out.
I first experienced homelessness when I was 18, and it was directly tied to the fact that I was under the LGBTQ umbrella. 25 to 40% of Canadian homeless youth identify as LGBTQ, and there's a huge disparity. So I think that's an important thing to examine while we discuss homelessness in youth, because it's definitely affecting certain people at a disproportionate rate.
If I could voice my opinion on anything about preventing homelessness, it would be to access these supports. It could have provided information for kids to know where to go, know who to talk to.
If I could have known that there was a support that could have helped me make a plan B, that if coming out didn't go very well, and whether that would have resulted me in getting kicked out, as it did, or if it would have just resulted in making life miserable while you still are at home. If there could have been a plan B to help deal with that I could have had set up with the support of whoever, that would have helped a lot, but that didn't exist. And if it did exist, I didn't know about it.
If you grow up and with youth homelessness, and you just grow up knowing that that's okay, everyone just rolls with it, and then it takes a certain person to like everyone in the Boys and Girls Club that helps, you know, Philly and just everyone. They're there for me, you know. Or from when I was 20 till I was 24, this place kept me alive. So. But yeah, just the people here, just the love, you know, that was the big point for me. Gotta be strong, don't fall. You know, get back up, Keep trying. There's people around that love you. Okay.
So one thing we learned while putting this video together was just the strength in giving youth the ability to share their voice and allowing them to feel empowered. One big aspect of what Upstream is working to do is to rebuild our community's youth advocates for housing committee. And we're collaborating with Away Home Kelowna to get the foundation for that going so that youth can use youth's voice and lived experience and work along allies to create action plans around what they believe is the most important way that we might prevent and respond to youth homelessness. So thank you. And thank you, Jordan. That talk was amazing. You did so well. We're just so proud of you. We've come to the close. So at this time, Jamie and I would love to thank and recognize everyone who put many hours of hard work into putting this ceremony together. And a special thank you to Christy Patton, our marketing and communications coordinator. And a special thank you to Honor Holman, our Upstream practicum student. Thank you to our speakers coming to us locally, nationally, and even internationally. And thank you to all of our great partners and supporters in the project. And lastly, thank you to you, our community, for your passion and your curiosity that brought you here today to learn and celebrate about our community's grand initiative to end youth homelessness. Thank you for being at the forefront of this evolution to our practices and revolution in the lens through which this work can and will be done.
Thank you, Philly, for that. And I will also just jump in to close and say another big thank you to all of you. I think my biggest takeaway today, hearing all the speakers and partners, is that it takes a village, and that supporting young people early on can have a tremendous impact on health and well-being and success. And that's really what we're trying to do with the Upstream project. We're excited to bring it to our community. And also we're excited that this is signaling a shift towards prevention, towards looking at the system, at our partners, and what we can do to coordinate this response to youth homelessness. I know that we were going to leave our contact information here. I do believe we have a slide we can share on that. Any questions relating to Upstream Kelowna, the project, to learn about developments with it or to ask any questions, please do reach out to Philly. She really is the champion of this project and the expert. And I've also left my information there. If you do have any questions around the broader youth homelessness prevention strategy and that relationship with Journey Home and the work that we're doing, please do feel free to reach out to myself and we are happy to answer any questions. So in closing, another big thank you to all of you. We're excited to share our journey and updates along the way.